I wasn't expecting this much lying at a hearing on union organizing, and that's probably on me. I definitely wasn't expecting a CEO of a big company to try and pretend like he was a regular old schmo, but that's what happened at a hearing in Alabama. Also, the memory of Martin Luther King Jr. gets desecrated, but I'll get to that. The hearing in question is on Bill SB 231, which is a little complicated, so I'll give you the coloring book version. SB 231 has its roots in a National Labor Relations Board ruling from last year, allowing card check as a method of union organizing. Card check is a quicker and easier method of organizing a union. When enough people sign cards, it either forces an election or the company recognizes the union voluntarily. Anyway, Republicans, being little more than puppets for business interests, oppose card check. That's what SB 231 is for. It makes any company forego the recognition of a union and instead forces them to have an election. Elections are very time-consuming, which is the point. The goal is to put as many obstacles between unions and existing as possible. Now that the background is out of the way, let's see how these business bootlickers try to sell it.
This is a pretty simple bill. What it does is make the vote on organizing a union a secret ballot or secret vote, private vote, if you're going to receive state funds. So if you receive the state funds for incentives for a particular project, and it all starts in 25, so it's not retroactive, then if there's an organizing effort, it needs to be by secret ballot. It doesn't stop it, doesn't prevent it at all. It just says you got to vote by private ballot.
Apologies, Alabama likes to film their hearings at a weird angle, so you will be getting balcony seats for this committee hearing. It's mildly appropriate, as Republicans in Alabama seem to want to keep as much distance between themselves and the public as possible. That is Senator Orr, sponsor of the bill, telling everyone what the state of Alabama should really do is respect the sanctity of the ballot. Because that's what everyone on planet Earth thinks of when they think of Alabama and voting. We respect the right to vote here in Alabama. Sure you do. That's why Alabama still has a Confederate History Month. By the way, congratulations on all the civil rights museums you have down there in Alabama. I wonder why so many are located there. By the way, this isn't the section that desecrates the memory of MLK. It's something else entirely. Anyway, you may be wondering what the motivating factor is for this bill. I mean the one they said, not the actual one of stopping unions from forming.
And that would prevent a company or employer from strong-arming employees. You need to vote against this, you need to vote against this. Would prevent a union from strong-arming employees saying, you got to vote for it, you got to vote for it. So,
oh, it's to prevent employers from harassing employees. Sure, that's what it's for. You're making it harder for workers to organize because you're worried employers are going to harass workers. I'll get more into this later. Speaking of workers, what do they think of this bill? Well, good news, members of the public could come and speak. So actual workers had an opportunity to come speak out against this bill. Bad news, the hearing is time limited. Why is this hearing time limited? Well, for some reason, this bill was pushed to the end of the hearing where it was up against a hard deadline. You may be wondering what came before it that was so important.
This bill designates Little Bluestem, which is found from the mountains of Huntsville all the way to the Gulf Coast, as the native state grass.
That's right, the official state grass of Alabama. That's why everyone who wanted to speak couldn't, because Republicans pushed the bill to the back of the hearing so they could claim there wasn't enough time. Grass was just too important, I guess. And it's real obvious this is what happened, because when they get done voting on the union organizing bill, everyone leaves.
Is SB 249, Senator Carnley, you're up.
Thank you, sir.
Politician.
This is I folded up my stuff. See.
Yeah, buddy, me too. I feel ya. No one showed up to hear about grass or anything else. They showed up to speak out against this attack on unions. And Republicans made sure there wasn't enough time for a proper public hearing because they hate unions. You may think I'm reading too much into it, but let me tell you about how they doled out speaking time before making a decision. 6 people total were allowed to speak, 3 from each side. How did they come up with this number? Well, let me show you.
So there are a lot of opponents, but we're going to run out of time, which we already have. So there's 3 proponents. So the ladies and gentlemen of the opponents, I would like to have 3 that are on this list. You figure out what entities you represent, and I will have any of you 3 come up, but you're able to do that. That'll be 2 minutes per person. On the proponents, you're going to have 2 minutes. If not, we'll be here for 2 hours.
Because only 3 people showed up to speak for the bill, so only 3 people against the bill were allowed to speak. Yep, this must be the legendary free speech I've heard so much about. Also, we'll be here forever if everyone gets to speak. If the bill was important enough to bring up, you should at least let everybody have a say-so on it. Anyway, let's stare through these 3 anti-union people real quick. 2 are think tank stooges, and number 3 is someone who lied about who they are because telling the truth would make them look really bad. They've all come to say the same thing.
If there's an organizing effort, it needs to be by secret ballot.
Senate Bill 231 ensures that workers for Alabama industries that receive state incentives have the same right to a private vote as we citizens do in a political election.
Private elections with secret ballots provide both the time and ability for employees to reflect upon and make decisions that impact their work and their families.
Impressive message discipline, less than impressive message. They preach of the secret ballot for union elections. Workers must be allowed to make up their mind in secret. I don't believe that's their motivation. I think it's a bunch of rich people and their puppets trying to derail union organizing efforts by forcing a move away from the quicker card check to the longer process of holding an election. Because certification elections take a while. They are still trying to get an election done at an Amazon warehouse in Alabama, and they started in 2020. And just to bury that secret ballot talking point a little more, Amazon established a place for workers to mail their ballots at their warehouse. It was inside an Amazon-branded tent, surveilled by Amazon-branded cameras. Oh, it's so secret. I can feel the privacy wafting off of it. So when these clowns start honking their noses about secret ballots, remember, they didn't say a thing about Amazon's Panopticon voting booth. But perhaps the pro side still sounds a little trustworthy. Allow me to disabuse you of that by introducing you to the most persuasive witness of the hearing, although not how he thinks.
Yes, sir. My name is Alan Harris. I've been an Alabama citizen my entire life. It's a great state. We're doing great things, and I wouldn't live anywhere else. I'm a general contractor by profession.
General contractor, huh? It's weird. I'm checking Alan Harris's page on the Bailey Harris Construction website, and I see the word CEO, but I don't see the word general contractor. It's so weird. That's right, this clown didn't want to walk out in front of workers and say, "I'm CEO Alan Harris, and me and my 2 think tank buddies think workers would be better off without unions." But if you've seen this channel before, you know I like to dig a little deeper than that, and this is where we get to the desecration of the memory of Martin Luther King Jr. You see, Bailey Harris Construction has a projects page, and on that page is listed the Equal Justice Initiative. You see, Bailey Harris Construction did $9 million worth of work for the Equal Justice Initiative on the Legacy Museum, which has a giant picture of MLK right up front on the building. And I want to talk about that for a moment. MLK was famously assassinated in Memphis while supporting a garbage workers' strike. One of the key demands in the strike was recognition of the union, because the city had refused it up until that point. So 2 takeaways. 1, great job Equal Justice Initiative. Giving this guy $9 million of work only for him to lobby against union organizing seems like a great decision. But you may want to take MLK's face off your building. You seem to have a different set of values. 2, it's been 56 years since MLK's death, and on this particular issue of union organizing, the people in charge of Alabama have not moved 1 inch since then. Recognition is just as hard as ever. Okay, back to the hearing. And after hearing from the 2 think tank weenies and construction CEO, I have but one question.
And my thing is this too, if the bill is so great, we're the workers up here saying we're against it. The workers, for this bill, I'm sorry. The workers, as to a man, everybody here is saying we're against it because it makes the process more difficult to unionize.
Yes, indeed. Where are them workers at? Trotting out Bob J. Rich Dude and 2 think tank lackeys to lie about unions ain't exactly persuasive. By the way, that was Mustafa Hassan, president of CWA Local 3905. Believe it or not, his particular unit was formed by CardCheck in 2017.
I've personally experienced this myself back in 2017. I work at the DirecTV call center in Huntsville, Alabama. AT&T purchased DirecTV back in 2016, and it gave us an option to do the card check process. My personal experience is there were no hiccups. It was a smooth situation. Workers were not being intimidated to vote for the union.
Doesn't sound like anyone was oppressed. Sounds pretty easy, in fact. Speaking of which, didn't the pro side of this whole debate paint a picture of horrible things that could be done by union organizers?
Workers can be, may be, pressured to support or to vote publicly in front of union organizers. This lack of privacy, known as a card check, can create an environment where workers may feel pressured to approve the union.
Well, as we've now got at least one case of card check peacefully organizing, it sounds like the CEO and think tank goons are making things up. Thankfully, it gets called out.
No, as I was listening to Senator, to the folks who came to speak in support of this legislation, as a lawyer, we deal in facts. And what I heard was card check might lead to, can be, maybe, might happen, could cause coercion, but even if it doesn't, we need to pass this legislation anyway. The woman that spoke today, she was the one that said we need to pass it anyway from the Policy Institute. She's been busy today. This is the second committee I've seen her in today. And I thought as a nonprofit, it was supposed to be nonpartisan, but they've been in on some partisan pieces of legislation today. But I want to know, what are the facts? What are the facts? I heard my colleagues say that unionization causes companies to close their doors. Where is that cited? Where is the report that shows us that? So if we're going to make an informed decision, y'all, please bring us some actual facts and not might happen, can be, maybe, might lead to. But even if it doesn't do that, we need to pass this piece of legislation anyway.
Facts, facts, indeed, facts. She's specifically referring to this moment.
Passing this law would give employees those exact same things if and when their place of employment goes through a unionization process. Passing this law will send a strong message to private employers that indicates that both the legislature and the state of Alabama will protect businesses and their employees from any unwanted or heavy-handed tactics in internal elections. In other states, unions don't just utilize intimidation tactics, but they can also make false promises to gain membership. However, even if those things never happen once in the state of Alabama.
Oh yes, they could do this and they could do that, so we need to outlaw it. This is nothing more than petty fear-mongering so Republicans can disrupt union organizing, which is a good way to describe this bill, which has not been passed into law, but is probably going to be passed into law very soon. Anyway, I'm History Sock, and I'll see you at the next committee hearing.